Attention, attention! Today I'm greeting our beloved subscribers with a new video about exploring the world. And instead of listening to me talk about politics, today you're going to see a city review. This city is San Francisco, California.
San Francisco, made in USA.
And it would be better if you watch this video till the end and do not turn it off in the middle, because the story here is built according to the author principle carrot and stick. I'm gonna start with the positive aspect about this city, but the further into this, the deeper we will dive into the reality of living there, and the cons will become pretty apparent. But before showing whether it's really good here, let me tell you the beginning of my story. At the end of May 2022, I pack my suitcases and go to the Budapest International Airport. I get on a plane and after an hour and a half of soaring in the clouds, I land in gloomy Zurich, Switzerland. Here I am supposed to transfer to a direct flight to San Francisco. Just 2 hours of layover and I'm already sitting in a huge Boeing that will take me to another continent. Flight length is 12 hours, and I gotta point out that it was light outside the whole time because of different time zones, so I was not really sleepy, but I was really hungry. But as you know, food on board sometimes makes you wanna puke. And I got lucky. This time the food was delicious. Just for this it's worth flying to America. Asparagus, vegetables, potatoes, meat, buttered bread, cheese, sandwiches, mousse pudding and yogurt for dessert. And an endless selection of drinks. And it was not even business class. They probably also handed out weed muffins like these ones. The time went by in a flash, and I caught the glimpses of skyscrapers and well-recognized landscapes of San Francisco outside the window. I was met at the airport and I went to take a bath. I was suffering from the jet lag for the whole next week. Today you will learn about the city of style disco San Francisco. This is not a travel blog and you won't see any stories about mainstream tourist attractions, cathedrals, churches and cultural monuments. And it's not only because in San Francisco they can be counted on the fingers of an armless amputee, but because things will be much more interesting. We will go to the poorest and the richest areas and to gay areas of San Francisco. Find out the cost of food, housing and other things. Learn about the laws and people. But we will also get some drone footage, landscapes and architecture. Basically showing the life of an ordinary blue-faced immigrant. Enjoy! So, San Francisco, a city in Northern California. By tradition, here it is in 1905 and here in 1906. It was the earthquake that almost completely destroyed the city. And here San Francisco after 30 years. And here is Crapville in Russia 30 years ago and now. As they say, find 10 differences. In 1989 the city suffered quite a lot again from a level 7 earthquake. And all because San Francisco is located right on the San Andreas tectonic fault. So every 50 years the city gets really shaken up. As they say, learn to present your flaws as virtues. After so many years of natural disasters on the peninsula where San Francisco is located, the ground that formed afterwards doesn't really look flat. And because of this, I gotta admit, these streets look extremely beautiful and unusual, even though they are not really convenient for pedestrians. This is why out of fear everyone here parks their cars with the wheels facing the curb. And out of habit, they don't just do it in upland areas.
Well, you can assess yourself at what angle the streets are here and how the cars and the houses are placed.
As if you are high. And here I gotta mention that marijuana has been fully legalized in California since the beginning of 2018. When you are walking in a city center, you can often see young and not only young people smoking a joint. But unlike drunk people, they are not aggressive at all and are even happy to pose for me.
Specific smell of weed can sometimes catch you in absolutely any place in California. However, do not flatter yourself, not everyone here smokes weed.
It's all about skunks, whose smell is sometimes difficult to distinguish from the smell of weed.
Continuing the theme about cars, in the US it's not a luxury, but a real necessity.
That when talking about Budapest, I call their public transportation system one of the most advanced in the world. So if we compare it with the United States, it's basically non-existent here. It somewhat works in big cities, but if you live outside the city limits, you're getting no help.
Seriously, it's nothing to do here without a car.
The distances between everything are enormous, and they are measured in miles.
For the average American, it's absolutely normal to drive 100 miles a day to the work and back, and it doesn't cost any surprises or outrage.
Petrol here is measured in gallons. 1 gallon costs about $6. It's about $1.5 per liter. It's not that expensive overall, certainly cheaper than in Europe, but the prices were way better before.
Due to the crisis, fuel prices have risen a lot, and you can notice this even by the traffic congestion. I didn't get to see how it was before, but according to the stories of the friends of mine, traffic on the streets and highways has significantly reduced.
And of course, because of the coronavirus, a lot of people started working from home, and now they just don't have anywhere to go.
Getting back to the vehicle theme, the prices on them skyrocket as well.
Before in the US, you could buy a pre-owned but good Toyota Prius for $2,000 or $3,000. And now for this amount of money, all you can get is a nice ass kick. And it was the first problem I encountered when I moved to America.
But I solved it, and now I wanna brag a little. I saved up for a very long time, sold a lot of ads, denied myself in everything. But now I finally could afford it, and now I don't have to go on my foot. So check that out, guys!
Most Americans here drive leased cars. Simply put, leasing is when you take a new car from a shop and pay a couple $100s a month to use it. No one here comes to a car shop and throws bags of cash.
Credit system. But if you are a poor immigrant without money and credit history, then this option for you is closed.
So secondary market is the only option. The first option is Craigslist. You choose a car and buy it directly from the seller. But consider that you can be scammed here easily. And even without outright scamming, I came across interesting ads selling working cars, but they could go only in one direction. Backwards. The second option is to buy a car from a dealer. The risks of getting scammed are significantly lower, but it's more expensive, about 20% higher. And the third option, I call it madness and courage, is to take a busted car from the auction.
Where and how you gonna fix that is another question, but these are exactly those cars that were bought by enterprising guys from Ukraine and Russia before the war in Ukraine, cause the prices for them are really low.
Of course, there is also an option to rent a car, but it's insanely expensive, about $100 a day. So if you come here for more than 1 week, it's a waste of money. And it's more efficient to buy a car that you can later sell and get back most of your money. Now back to San Francisco. This city is pretty small by American standards, around 46 square miles. For comparison, Moscow is around 970 square miles.
And this means that you can see all the main sites in a very short time.
The main highlight of the city is of course the Golden Gate Bridge. You probably saw it in 100 American blockbusters. It's one of the most frequently destroyed objects in movies, and in general, it's the most recognizable bridge in the world.
As it known, bridges have two main functions.
First, it connects the San Francisco peninsula to the mainland. One-way trip is $10. Interestingly enough, you don't need to stop and pay. You just need to slow down before the control point at the exit. The camera will record your license plate and you will receive an invoice at the end of the month.
And the second function is mainly associated with the Golden Gate Bridge. It is one of the main world record holders in terms of the number of suicides committed there. Yeah, kinda strange and sad record.
People come to San Francisco from all over the country to unalive themselves by jumping off the bridge. Free fall time from the Golden Gate is 4 seconds, and the impact speed of the water is more than 80 miles per hour. When I used to look at San Francisco only on pictures, I was always surprised that there is a suicide bridge in such a picturesque place that resembles Europe more than any other city in America, with its special beauty and unusual little streets. What kind of a person do you gotta be to live with this beauty around you and still jump off the bridge? I wanna tell them, my dear bourgeois suiciders, you didn't try living somewhere in Moscow, where you go to your balcony in the morning, surrounded by gloomy grayness, drag on your cigarette, and feel your neighbor's spittle land on your head.
But in any case, suicide is not an option, and I strongly disapprove it.
Everything is more or less clear when it comes to precipitation in Russia, but nothing's clear with the weather in San Francisco. California seems to be all about sunshine, warmth, light ocean breeze, and ripe fruit all year round. Someday I will make a video about bipolar disorder, but maybe you know now how often people with this disorder have mood swings.
How the weather in San Francisco is bipolar with an anxiety disorder. It's August, the height of summer, and it's about 65 degrees to Fahrenheit. And seems to be a quite comfortable temperature, and considering the fact that winter here is rarely below 50 degrees, it's a fairy tale.
But the problem is that the weather in the city can change 10 times a day. From the scorching sun and light breeze to white as goat's milk fog and storm wind.
Anyway, when going to the downtown, you will definitely need to take at least 2 types of clothing.
Downtown is the name for the central part of the city. Many of you have probably played the game GTA San Andreas, and maybe it sparked some memories right from the start of the video when I was talking about tectonic plates. So San Fierro is a prototype of San Francisco in GTA, and even the names of some places there resemble real ones. There are cable cars and that same hilly train, and the famous winding car slopes.
Unfortunately, San Francisco can't be called the city of skyscrapers, but despite that sad fact, we will visit several of them, which are worth attention, I think.
Salesforce Tower is the tallest building in San Francisco at the moment.
So, having looked at the city from the bird's-eye view, now it's time to go to the park.
There are a lot of green zones in this city. Gotta give all the credits to the city administration for that.
But the Salesforce Park, which is located on the same street as the eponymous skyscraper, deserves the most attention.
By the way, it's forbidden by law to fly a drone in any of them. Well, you can fly, but you cannot take off. So, for example, if you take off from your boat, you do not violate any laws. This giant orca is located at a height of about 22 yards above the ground. And as the last street, this pyramid building that you probably recognized. The second tallest building in a city is called Transamerica Pyramid.
In addition to the fact that due to its outstanding shape, Transamerica is a hallmark of San Francisco skyline, there is nothing much to tell about it.
But this eye-catching name, Transamerica, allows me to make a subtle, barely visible transition to our next topic. Genders, gay guys and lesbians.
San Francisco is a real city of freedom.
Once it was loved by hippies who arranged the Summer of Love here in 1967. About 100,000 hippies gathered on the streets here. They smoked weed, made out loud and all that.
Just imagine how many unwashed people gathered in one place.
And today, according to the statistics, even though I'm not sure how accurate it is, about 15% of city's population is sexual minorities.
And this is the highest indicator for the cities in the US.
LGBT rainbows are more common here than the United States flag. And of course, gay people are treated way better here than, for example, in Ohio.
And yet you haven't seen the Castro district.
You can see these rainbows literally everywhere. Lampposts, crosswalks, drawing on the walls and shops with all the merchandise. I even wanted to buy a t-shirt like this and a postcard to my cousin's wedding, Mr. and Mr.
Regarding historical buildings, here is Pink Triangle Park and Memorial.
There are 15 columns, each of them symbolizes 1,000 gay people killed in Nazi concentration camps. And there is a gay bar, Twin Peaks, where you can find a nice company for the evening.
You know what? Let's go and get acquainted with someone there. Hello, thank you. No, guys, thank you. I don't need views that much. That was just a joke.
Why are you walking nude?
Why are we walking nude? I don't know.
It's just your lifestyle.
Lifestyle, freedom. That's what we do. Lifestyle, you can do it in the city. City lets you.
That's how you demonstrate your position, right?
And we enjoy it. Feel good. Not too many cities you can do this. Not many at all.
But don't be fooled by this rainbow front of the neighborhood. It's not just gay people who live here, and it's considered pretty prestigious. And having checked the prices here, how much it costs to buy a house, I understood why a lot of people can't handle it and jump into the water. And how much does it cost to live here?
And there are just two options. In San Francisco, it's either expensive or very expensive.
The city is divided into districts and enclaves. There is a business district, Chinatown, Japantown, Little Italy, Mexican districts, Russian Hill, and so on. And every place has its own standard of living and prices.
I don't want to injure your psyche with all these numbers, so it would be better to tell about the cost of living here using the example of dog's life. And then you will just multiply it by 10.
Veterinarian services in San Francisco are not really cheap. A checkup by a veterinarian costs about $60. And if a surgery is needed, a tooth needs to be pulled out, or there is an injury, that will cost thousands of dollars.
So if you don't have insurance, then a cat with lichen and a dog with allergic will strip you to the skin.
Dog walking costs about $30 minimum, and there are also kindergartens for dogs. And they are more common than playgrounds for kids. It costs $80 to take your dog there for a day. And don't forget about the extra fee to your rent if you are planning to live with a dog.
And listen carefully, cause there is a little loophole.
You can go to a therapist and make a document stating that you are emotionally dependent on your poodle. Then it will have the badge of an emotional support animal. And then you can move in without any restrictions and the rent price won't change.
Just a cool life hack, so use it. Although, as if you will ever need it. Don't think so.
On average, you spend about $500 a month if you have a dog.
That is, average Russian monthly salary is spent only on dogs in the US. So if you are watching me from Russia, then probably you and the Pekingese needs the same amount of money per month. It's sad. Yes, it's very sad.
And now multiply this 500 by 10 to get an idea of how much money a person needs to live here.
In fact, in California, for a normal, I emphasize for normal, not cool, not luxurious, but normal, modest life, you will need at least 4K per month.
No trips, cafes, fancy outings and not much driving anywhere.
Don't believe me? Let's count then.
Let's open one of the most popular sites in America for finding housing, Zillow. Type San Francisco and look at the results. It is hard to find something cheaper than 4,000. Not that many offers, but let's see what we have here. So for 2,000 you can rent this cardboard box with no furniture. And don't forget to count the utilities, about 200 or 300.
And then it's not surprising if in the first week you will have a desire to test the Golden Gate. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention that to move into apartments you will need to pay a deposit in amount of at least 2 months of rent. And I remind you, if you're a poor immigrant without no credit history, they may even ask you to pay for 6 months.
These insane terms are linked to excessively soft laws regarding tenants that were recently adopted in California.
According to the law, the owner of the apartments can't evict a renter even if he hasn't paid for several months. Kinda bullshit, right?
In general, it's traditional in America to rent housing without any furniture, and there are 2 rental options. The first is just to find an owner, a person who has an extra apartment that they rent out and rent from them.
Classic.
It will be a little cheaper, there is more choice, and you can try to negotiate the price. The second option is to rent an apartment in multi-story building.
It will be a little more expensive, but in addition to place for sleep, you will also get following.
You will have an access to the gym, swimming pool, a place for rest, work, meetings, and other things that are available in almost all these buildings.
It's worth considering that both house owners and apartment complexes are looking for people who are ready to rent housing for at least 12 months, which creates certain difficulties for nomad like me.
Statistically, about 1 in 200 Americans was once homeless, and there are a lot of homeless people in San Francisco. And if homeless people in Russia were taken somewhere far away, they are not really seen warming up near some pipes away from all society. Here they all have all the rights, live in tents and walk the streets just like everyone else. And there are a lot of drug addicts here too. It's weird, but one of the most disadvantaged neighborhoods, called Tenderloin, is located in the center of the city, close to the financial district.
A lot of people here, they're very desperate. They're addicted to drugs, and they're like just desperate for money. So if they see that camera, they're like, "Oh my God, that's a $3,000 camera! I'm just gonna grab it and run." You know, people are just crazy right here.
So we better not walk this area.
Yeah, I mean during the day it's fine. At night you don't want to be down that way. With those cameras, if you have the cameras in the backpack, you're fine. But if you walk around with that, people are just like, "I'll take that."
It's just mecca for homeless and drug addicts, and on each corner you can find drug dealer as easy as lampposts.
And a lot of homeless people are acting strange and scare people. And this is because US authorities stopped funding mental hospitals since 1950s. That's why a lot of patients had to go to the streets instead of the hospital. And according to the New York Times, in 3 years the city replaced about 300 lampposts because people pissed and vomited on them so much that they practically disappeared.
What kind of a disco city? But returning to the financial question, thanks to the Tenderloin reputation, renting here is a bit cheaper.
You can rent an apartment here for about $1,500, and you'll probably have a neighborhood who will sell amphetamine to you.
But whether it is worth it, it's a very controversial issue, considering that your things will probably be stolen on the second day. It is already evening, and maybe I won't be able to dive deep into the city's atmosphere as deep as in gay club Twin Peaks, but I climbed the eponymous hills here, Twin Peaks in San Francisco.
It's especially nice to do this in the evening when there are lights everywhere, gazing through a telescope to see all the beauty around you.
I don't want to say a stereotypical phrase that this is a city of contrast, because it can be said about any city.
But if New York is the smell of coffee and tires, Wall Street businessmen and all the hustle, and Miami is models, clubs, heat and nightlife, then San Francisco is a pretty calm and picturesque place with foggy weather, and gay and homeless people, of course.
If not be fussy about details, then here is not only beautiful, but also here you can find everything what you need for a life.
Yeah, there are homeless people are laying around, and sometimes it smells like piss. Yes, it is very expensive, but holy crap, just take a look how nice it is here.
Maybe if you're obese, you will catch a heart attack while climbing these roads, but just take a look at that gorgeous background in front of which you will die and spend your last minutes.